What is good, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Kyle, and I'm about to talk some movies with you. And for today's video, I'm going to be ranking the Star Wars movies. I know it's cliche, but I desperately need the views. I just desperately want to give you great reviews. Star Wars was created by George Lucas, and the first movie came out in 1977, and ever since then, this franchise arguably has the biggest fan base of all time. And as a guy part of that fan base, I wanted to discuss my opinion on these movies. At the end of the day, this is just my opinion on these movies. I've watched these since I was a little kid. I love these movies, and this is just my opinion. Leave down in the comments below your ranking of the Star Wars movies. But other than that, let's get into it. In last place, we have The Rise of Skywalker. What is there to say about this movie? It's just awful. I hate this movie. Honestly, it is just so bad. Bringing back Palpatine, ruining Anakin's entire arc and what he did as the Chosen One. It's just, this movie's bad. I don't like the story. I don't like the characters. I could really care less, and it's not a good movie. And the more I think about it, just the more I realize how bad Disney wanted to make Rey the Chosen One. Like, they may not come out and say it, but I feel like it's really hinted that they wanted her to be the Chosen One, but they can't really do that because George Lucas already said that Anakin is the Chosen One. I don't know, but this movie is just terrible. In 10th place, we have The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is basically just more of The Rise of Skywalker. I would just say it is a little better. But still, they ruined Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill even said that it felt like playing a whole new character. It doesn't match with Luke's character, and it just brings the entire movie down. I just don't care about this movie. It's just a little better than The Rise of Skywalker. I will say, though, that the Yoda's cameo, I did enjoy. I was like, yo, that's so cool. But other than that, this movie is it's not it. And in 10th place, we have The Force Awakens. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't think Force Awakens is a bad movie. I think it's actually a pretty okay movie. But the more I look at it, the more I realize that it is just A New Hope redone. I think overall it's a pretty okay movie. I have two big complaints. One is Han Solo. Like, I love Han Solo, and when he came back, I was like, chills. But when you really look at Han Solo, you realize that they kind of ruined his whole arc from the original trilogy. He starts off as this, this like kind of criminal dude who doesn't care about anything but himself, but grow into a great man who cares and puts the needs of other people before his. And it's like, you ruin that entire arc. And now we're just here. Now, like, he's just the same person he was. Like, what was the point of his character growth? That didn't make sense. And of course, my second complaint, I think everybody can agree on this Rey being able to be this powerful Force user and be Kylo Ren, who's been training his entire life in the light, the dark side, and her being able to just come in and just defeat him. I don't know. I was like, what? And I think also this movie missed out on a great story, and that was having a clone trooper, Finn, turn to a powerful Jedi. I think that would have been a cool arc, cool story. It would have been an amazing trilogy, but they decided to follow Rey, who got so powerful without any training. He was able to beat someone who's been training their entire life. I don't know. I still think the movie's okay. In 9th place, we have Attack of the Clones. So Attack of the Clones was the first Star Wars movie I had ever watched, and my thoughts, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of the story, but I do love all the characters in this movie. I think they're all written so well, they're all done so well. So first about the story, bouncing back from this, trying to find out where like the clone troopers were made, and then hopping back into this love story. I don't know. It kind of, I didn't love it as much as maybe some other people, but I do love the characters. So the first character I want to talk about is Count Dooku. Introducing Count Dooku here was just amazing. I just thought he was so cool. I loved his lightsaber. I loved his like aura he had. His just character was amazing. I also loved Mace Windu. Samuel L. Jackson is just so like awesome. He's just got this, kind of like he has this aura. He's like, I don't think so. Like, he's that guy. I loved the purple lightsaber. The story behind that is so funny. I love Obi-Wan. I love Anakin. I love Yoda, Padme. I love all these characters. Action was pretty great. Like, that Coliseum fight scene is just amazing, top tier. I loved it, and yeah, I'm not totally in love with the story, but I do love the characters of this movie, and I think it's a pretty, well done film. And at number 7, we have Solo, a Star Wars story. In my personal opinion, I think that Solo is the most underrated Star Wars project. I think it's actually a pretty solid movie. I think the story's, maybe not the best, but it's pretty good. I love how we get to see how we get Han in A New Hope. I love how we met Chewbacca, and how they had that little brawl, and how he can speak his language. I enjoyed the characters. Donald Glover as Lando is probably is great casting. He was Lando from Empire Strikes Back, and I think that was really done well. I love how we got the Millennium Falcon in the end, which was pretty good. My biggest complaint from this movie is that we got that Darth Maul tease, and we never got to explore that story, which I think is a huge bummer, because that would have been cool. But overall, I think it was a pretty solid done movie. Not Star Wars best, but definitely not Star Wars worst. And I think it needs more love. In 6th place, we have The Phantom Menace. So I actually really enjoy The Phantom Menace. And while, yes, the story may not necessarily be the best, I will say that I love the introduction of Anakin and how his story is kind of sad. I love how it plays on there was no father, and how it's really showing that he is the chosen one. But really what I want to talk about this movie is just 3 characters. I want to talk about Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. Qui-Gon, I just loved his character. I loved how he was separating himself from the council, and how he was looking at the bigger picture. All these rules is just, it's not it. Obi-Wan, I liked his introduction. I feel like Ewan McGregor played a really good young Alec Guinness. And Darth Maul, oh my gosh, was he cool. The double-headed lightsaber, and his design, oh my gosh, it was just beautiful. And the last thing I want to talk about, oh my gosh, Duel of the Fates. That final fight scene, bro, oh my gosh. That is, in my personal opinion, top 3 fight scene in the Star Wars movies. It is just, and the franchise in general, I think it was just done so well. The choreography was so amazing. And the guy that played Darth Maul, I don't really remember his name. That's on me. But him being a natural swordsman also helped elevate. And just man, we don't get those kind of fight scenes really anymore. I mean, the last maybe good fight scene was in The Acolyte, but that show kind of sucked, and I don't really care about it. But overall, I think it was a pretty good movie. The story may not always be there, but it was a good prequel, I think, and I enjoy the characters, and I think that it's pretty good. Coming in at 5th place, we have Star Wars: A New Hope. For these last 5 Star Wars movies I'm about to rank, I just want to say these are not bad Star Wars movies at all. These are the movies I consider top tier Star Wars movies. These are the best of Star Wars. And this is just based on movies I enjoyed a little more. And coming in at 5th place, that's New Hope. Star Wars: A New Hope, the one that started it all, I just want to say this is just a phenomenal movie. The visuals are beautiful. The introductions of all the characters, the introduction of Luke, Obi-Wan, Leia, Han, Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2, all these amazing characters. Darth Vader. Gosh, do I love Darth Vader. But we're going to talk a lot more about him in the future. But this movie was just the start of it all, and I think it's just phenomenal. The one thing that holds it back for me, loving it more, is the lack of action. I'm a big action guy. Action keeps me locked in on a movie. And while it's still a great movie, I will say the lack of action stops it from making me want to love it more than the other movies that we're about to talk about. But overall, I think it's a great movie. The story is amazing, the visuals are amazing, the characters are written so well. And I love everything about this movie, just the lack of action that's holding it back from it being higher on the list. But overall, I love this film. In 4th place, I have Rogue One. Ooh, was this movie good? Oh my gosh. I absolutely love this movie. I can't think, of anything really bad to say about this movie. I loved it from the very beginning. I loved the action. I loved how the Rebels got the plans to the Death Star. I love how just the main characters died in the end. There was really no happy ending for them. I love how like they just didn't get saved. I love how it kind of just ended there for them. But the thing I want to talk about the most, the thing I want to really focus on, other than the great story, the great characters, I'm gonna focus on two things. The first thing, that Vader hallway scene. Oh my gosh, the writers were cooking with that scene. That was peak. Oh, that was just, the scene itself was just beautiful. Vader slaughtering all those rebels. It went from a Star Wars film to a horror film. And I think after watching that scene, I'm just gonna keep begging for a rated R Vader movie. I loved that hallway scene. Vader's just so menacing. He's my favorite character out of the entire Star Wars franchise. And I love just the sheer terror. The terror on their face. I love how they were just scared out of their minds. The breathing and the igniting of the lightsaber. Oh my gosh, just beautiful. And another thing I really want to talk about this movie that doesn't really connect to the story, to the characters at all, is, you know, after the sequel trilogy was made, I just heard a lot of complaints about me like, oh, y'all didn't like it because there was a female, you know, and I think just, I don't know how someone could say that people didn't like the sequel trilogies because it was being led by a female character. If watching this movie, I think the reason the sequel trilogy failed is the lack of poor writing and the lack of understanding of the characters. And this movie, who the lead role was a female, when you write good characters, when you give good stories, when you give characters that we care about, you end up having a good movie. So I don't think people hate the sequel trilogy because it's female-led. I think people hate the sequel trilogy, and why I hate the sequel trilogy is because the story is just awful. Like, it's just them trying to create their own thing without following the lore that George Lucas created. But overall, I love Rogue One. I think it's just a great movie. I can't think of any flaws, truthfully. I mean, I really like it. Coming in at third, we have Return of the Jedi. Man, oh man, Return of the Jedi. This movie was, I think, the perfect ending to that original trilogy. I loved how Darth Vader, you know, returned as Anakin, him killing Sidious, cementing him as the chosen one, Luke really being able to break through to Vader. I think the whole story is great. I love the characters. I love that final battle scene. I think it was just done so well. I love this movie. It was a perfect ending to a great trilogy, and I think it belongs here at number 3. Now, for these last two spots, this truly is hard to rank because I absolutely love these last two films. I think they are the best of Star Wars, and I don't think any of these films will ever be matched. But coming in at number 2, I have The Empire Strikes Back. Now, this is a great Star Wars film. From the opening to the ending, this film was just phenomenal. Not only did this movie give us a great story, not only did it give us back the characters we fell in love with from the first film, but this movie, man, it was just the action. I think it definitely is a step up from A New Hope. I love how it had more lightsaber duels. I felt like the action was a lot more there than New Hope. And this movie, in my opinion, has the greatest and the biggest plot twist in cinema history, and that is I am your father.
No, Luke, I am your father.
Oh my gosh! That scene gives me chills every time. That is such a great scene. I think it is the greatest plot twist in cinema history, and it's why I love this movie. This movie just had everything, and it is a movie that I think has no flaws. I love it. But coming in at first is Revenge of the Sith, the greatest Star Wars movie of all time.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
This movie from the get-go is absolutely phenomenal. I think that Anakin, his entire story we follow, Hayden Christensen as Anakin is top-tier casting, and this is what cemented my love for Star Wars, truthfully. And I think that after this movie, yeah, Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader is my favorite character of Star Wars of all time. Ewan McGregor, I think, is the perfect casting for playing a young Alec McGinnis. And I loved this movie. That Order 66 scene still makes me kind of like, breaks my heart literally every time. Just the music in the background and the killing of the Jedi is just heartbreaking. And that final fight scene, that final lightsaber duel is just the greatest duel of all time. And if you can't recite that entire duel from start to finish, you are no Star Wars fan. You got to be able to quote that entire thing. But yeah, overall, this is the greatest Star Wars movie in opinion, and that's why I love it. But overall, guys, that is just my opinion on the Star Wars movies. I want to thank you so much time for taking out your day to watch this video of me just talk a little bit of Star Wars and movies with you guys. Remember, this is just my opinion. We all have our different opinions, but don't be afraid to leave your opinions down in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.